Are you successful? I know, right? Loaded question. My name is St.George, and you're listening to Success by Career and Technical Education Schools, the second episode in the podcast series, Humans, Teachers, and Students, Learning or Surviving? So, success is such a broad subject, and it's defined differently by everyone. I consider a huge factor in conventional success to be living a comfortable lifestyle. I've discovered that by attending a CTE high school, otherwise known as a vocational school, GPA is often improved, which will lead to a higher salary, a financially comfortable lifestyle, and finally conventional success. What it all boils down to, a personalized education built only for the student. In this day and age, education plays the biggest factor in getting ourselves into the professional world. It all starts at the smallest unit of education, and that's you, the student. You start school at a young age, and with the help of teachers and parents, will identify how you best learn. This is known as your learning style. There are 4 main learning styles: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and reading-writing. I explored these learning styles for a project I composed called Humans of Education, where I interviewed 3 experienced teachers. I asked them how they identify and manage different learning styles in the classroom. One of my interviewees, Sarah Relihan, ensures that every student can identify their own personal interests and the best way they can work towards their goals. She does this by addressing as many of the learning styles as possible in each of her lessons. This way, all children can engage with the content, and if anything sparks their interest, it could lead them to a new passion. She stresses patience in the classroom, giving students time to be curious as well as giving herself time to get to know each student and their learning style. I explored my findings by comparing them to the idea of subjectification outlined by scholar Gert Biesta in another project I did called Finding a Spark. For a brief overview, subjectification is the process of becoming an independently functioning individual by developing your own opinions and identity and deciding what to do with the information you gather about yourself. If you're interested in further context, links to these projects can be found below. I concluded that all teachers should recognize the learning styles of their students and adapt their teaching to accommodate such styles, thus personalizing each student's experience. This personalization leads to a spark, which, in my opinion, proves a teacher has successfully incorporated subjectivity in their classroom. The key is having patience, giving time for students to explore content they find interesting, and taking time to get to know students as individuals. But it's not all up to the teacher. It's also up to the student, especially as they get older, to explore their own passions, consider what methods work best for them, and make sure they're getting the education they desire. So now, ideally, you're embarking on your own subjective education journey, aware of your own preferences and aspirations, working towards your goals. It comes time to make a crucial decision: where are you going to go to high school? The default answer to this question seems to be my town's public high school. Is that really what's best for you? Some people don't even realize that choosing a high school can be just as crucial as choosing a college. Most don't even recognize the existence of CTE, which stands for Career and Technical Education high schools. These are vocational schools that allow you to focus on a trade such as culinary, agriculture, technology, carpentry, and more. I came across a study comparing the ACT scores of CTE versus general academic high schoolers. In all the categories, students who went to the tech schools got better test scores than those who went to general academic schools. A quote that summarizes the results is, "The results of this project signal that CTE certification has a large effect on student achievement in college preparation. It can be assumed if CTE certified graduates are accomplishing higher assessment marks on national examinations, they are accomplishing higher semester grades in their high school courses, thus posing higher overall grade point averages." I personally had a very good experience attending a vocational agricultural high school. For me, it was much more beneficial than a fully classroom setting because I learned skills that will be useful for my future profession. This study shows that it can also improve academic performance. I think vocational schools offer a more engaging and hands-on approach to learning. They feature smaller class sizes, tailored lessons, internships, and the opportunity to create connections in your field. Especially for those kinesthetic learners, this would be much more suited to students' interests and career goals. Traditional classroom settings focus primarily on memorizing facts, where vocational schools prepare you for a specific trade. I believe this leads to improved grades because students are more engaged and interested in what they're learning, which relates to my engaging in a conversation project and Biesta's idea of subjectification that I focused on. Joining us on the podcast today is Elizabeth St.George, mother of 3 children, 2 of which attended vocational high schools.
Hi, Allison. Thank you for having me on your show. This is very exciting.
We're so glad to have you joining us today. So let's just jump into some questions. Before you sent your first child to the vocational school, what were your thoughts on it and opinions? Were you hesitant or were you comfortable with this decision?
I was very comfortable with the decision to send my children to vocational schools. They were 2 very different vocational schools, and my first child attended an agricultural high school, which was the perfect fit for her as a child who had been involved in equestrian life for several years and knew that she wanted to pursue that career. We felt that it was a really good school for her to get practical experience and practical learning. We were concerned a little bit about the fact that it wasn't totally academically challenging for her, but there was more benefits than disadvantages. For our son, who attended a different vocational high school with a focus on electronics, we also knew that he would really thrive in that kind of environment versus a traditional public school. So I would say that we were pretty comfortable with the decision
So you said that
both.
you weren't sure if the academic portion of the vocational school would be as strong. Did you notice any changes in grades for your children or any academic progress?
Well, that's an interesting question because I think that anybody who is doing something that they love is more apt to put in more effort to do well in that. For example, with my oldest child, who, as I said, was the equestrian, to be immersed in classes where they are hands-on with sheep and horses and pigs gave her excitement about learning about the anatomy and the different types of academic focused projects that were based off of some of the work that they did in their practical experiences. So I think that despite there not being AP classes or things like that, the opportunity for children to thrive when they're doing something that they love is really a much greater learning experience, in my opinion. We found the same true with our son, who is, like I said, in electronics and really, really thriving. He actually has done exponentially better in the vocational school than he did in a public school setting, partly because he's passionate about what he's learning, but he is also given really good support through this vocational program. With the school being a little bit smaller, there's more ability for the teachers to give a little bit more individualized attention to some of their students who need it.
So it sounds like you've had a pretty positive experience with vocational schools.
I would agree with that statement. I think that it's a parent's responsibility to determine where their child will thrive best in what learning environment. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity and access to vocational schools, which I think shows a progression of our society to embrace a more diverse learning environment.
Thank you so much for your input and for being on our show. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so now you know yourself and your learning style, which led you to picking the right CTE school for your career and educational goals, leading to maintaining a higher GPA than if you were at a traditional school. But do high school grades even matter? Yes, even if you aren't planning on attending college. Those who have a higher GPA in high school will make more money. I found a study linked below conducted by Michael French with the University of Miami in 2014. They got their data from the National Longitudinal Survey of Adolescent Health. They had a sample of 10,000 adults between the ages 24 and 34. The purpose of the study was to compare average annual earnings in adulthood by high school GPA. This histogram was released by Eureka Alert News, and it shows the averages for both men and women. It shows that with an increase in GPA, there is also an increase in salary. Obviously, there's many other factors that will affect GPA and salaries, but it's very clear that the two are positively correlated. Specifically, the study was able to conclude that for every 1 point increase in GPA, salary will increase by 12% for men and 14% for women. This proves that high school GPA can indirectly influence salary potential in adulthood because it provides opportunities for education and career advancement. I'm fully aware of the old saying, money doesn't buy happiness. But in truth, if you don't make enough money to sustain yourself, you can't live comfortably in modern society. If you're always fighting to get by, you're going to be stressed, which is no way to live every day. I was able to locate the median cost to live comfortably in each U.S. state. Massachusetts has a median of $116,022. In this day and age, it is very expensive just to live, which makes income a huge factor in how successful we consider ourselves. Of course, there are many, many, many things that play into our success, and everyone weighs each factor differently. But at least for me, making enough money to live a less stressful and more comfortable life would indicate a higher level of success. I hope this helps guide you towards your own success. Everyone's path is going to look super different, so don't put off taking your education into your own hands. Learn about yourself and your learning style. If you're a parent, you can encourage your kids to find their passion and don't let them settle for whichever high school or college is most convenient to attend. Don't turn a blind eye to CTE schools. They foster a learning environment that is subjective and engaging to a degree that could never be achieved in a traditional classroom. I know what you're thinking. There's more to it than what school you go to and how you handle your learning. What about other external factors? One of the main factors that affects students is mental health. To hear more on that, tune into the next episode of Humans, Teachers, and Students, Learning or Surviving. Thank you for listening. Catch you all next time.